Today I tried a little bit to modify my presentation to fit to the first panel of discussion, because really we started to feel yes, that there is a very complex problematic. So in fact, today I will talk about governance and violence in camps, two things: the informality, the topic of this conference. So first I will argue that violence is not a result of any Islamist, jihadist, militant ideology. This is often, we find it in Lebanese media, and many politicians talk like this, but rather is this living conditions that give rise to that cause, to violence. So here I follow literally Hannah Arendt saying, no doubt the development of violence has a logic of itself, but it is a logic that springs from experience and not from the development of ideas. Okay? And I will see how there is a problem of legitimacy in governance of the camps as informal settlements, and of course how the informality become a source of violence, and not because there is a violence that it ends up it's an informal setting. This is what I'm trying to say. So I'm basing on long years of ethnography. A quarter of century I lived in Yarmouk camp. Sometimes I look Khawaga, they told me, you don't know refugee camp. I said, quarter of century I lived there. It's not sufficient, okay? And 5 focus groups in Nahr al-Barid, Badawi, and El Hilwi. And actually I was really interested to relocate the focus group participants from conventional misery discourse of their life of refugee to the political life, okay, of actual experience. This is very important, and I use a lot of secondary sources from surveys done in refugee camps the last 2 or 3 years. The title of my talk, where I take Enclave versus Fortress Archipelago, I borrow it from Alessandro Pitti, the husband of this lady, Sandy Hilal. Okay, a dear friend. So actually it's, I think, and here Nima yesterday, when she talked a lot about the authoritarianism, I thought, while I am taking my dinner with you, whether really it's really only authoritarian regimes generate benefit from informality, or actually sometimes hinder it because of the security reason, or this is a new neoliberal model where to allow people to circulate, the civilized people, we should put the undesirable people, confine them in spaces, in enclaves, and these enclaves, we leave them to their sort, okay? So they become like a plague colony, or we will see maybe better than that. So this is a problem, I think, of the way Lebanese government treat the Palestinian refugee camps. And like Bab al-Tabbani, Jabal Muhsin, a lot of villages in Biqa and so on. So if you like, it's a paradigm. It's not only targeting Palestinians, because this is the 19th sect, unrecognized sect in Lebanon, but because it's a neoliberal state or non-state in Lebanon. So what specifically to Palestinian, and this is what I call the art of inclusive exclusion, how Palestinians sometimes considered as a foreigner, they don't have, for instance, right to own to have any associations, civil society associations, but in the same time they are they don't have the right of foreigner concerning the right to work. A French can work in Lebanon, but not a Palestinian engineer. So, and sometimes they found, no, it's good to call them refugees because it's temporary and they want to, they should return, etc. So, if you like, they are playing to different categories just to keep this category of Palestinians in Lebanon in exclusion. So my fundamental questions to you, I don't have actually reply in my talk. Is formality is a way of state exclusion of refugee, of state exclusion, or refugee agencies inclusion? What are the meanings of informality when we don't have, and here we, I don't know why I put it, it could be my French way we use on, we translate it by we, but also because really when I write, I am so emotional when I write about the Palestinians of Lebanon, so I include myself with them. So in any case, when one doesn't have a social rights or what I call social citizens, and for God, my God, I'm not saying citizenship, but social. Like in France, مواطنة اجتماعية. It's not political. We don't want Lebanese citizenship ID for 2/3 of century. So I think here, for me, a fundamental question: this being protracted refugees for what the meaning of keeping their settlement is in informality. Is informality a project of segregation of the camp slash slums from the city, or informality is a way actors force themselves to have the right to the city? Is informality creating, or for me, the whole thesis I have, that informality creates more agency in the camps more than agency of the camps. It means that a lot of actors using the camps because of how it becomes informal. Fath al-Islam, you have among 300 actors of Fath al-Islam who inhabit the camps, you have only 3 people from Nahr al-Barid. The remaining are either Lebanese, Arabs, or Palestinians from Syria. So actually, yes, you have agency in the camps, but agency of the dwellers or those who use it because of this informality. So, so if I talk about, let me move quickly to show you how, in fact, historically, the camps in Lebanon was a question: we include what and we exclude what. In fact, it was always an idea that we should include territories. Is the ideology of any nation state, which is very normal. But what is not normal? How to include the territories and exclude the population. So, and here the big dilemma of Palestinian refugee camps in Lebanon. So, so this is why I use this Foucaultian metaphor in Middle Age about the Liberty colony, that just you don't interest to them. It was never any urban regulation in the refugee camps. It was somehow a systematic attempt that we ignore this this space, so we see nevertheless that you have Palestinian governmentality in the camps. You have the popular committees. You have the Palestinian factions. You have what is very interesting, UNRWA, what I call a phantom sovereign, because they are there and not there. They're Mudir al-Mukhayyam in Arabic, Mudir, okay, director of the camps, but in fact, his it's often you find when you go to the camp officer of UNRWA, you find he writes in Arabic Mudir Mukhayyam. It means director. It means he is in charge of managing, administrating, governing the camps. But when they found this is so cumbersome issue, say no, we are just a service provider. So all this is this ambiguity of mini sovereignties contribute to a different form of governmentality in the camps. But from the other side, where I consider a real actors of the camps is mukhabarat al-jaysh, is a military intelligence who can call anyone from the popular committee at midnight asking him to arrest somebody or to do this or to do that. So and this practice, unfortunately, until today. So it's in fact it's for me the real sovereign of the refugee camp is mukhabarat al-jaysh, the military intelligence, and and it's very interesting that it's they are not at all interested of including the Palestinian refugees as social citizens. Now a little bit things improved. Now there is officially, formally, Lebanese sovereignty over the camps, but in fact the project of exclusion is in place, and more the real actors is the bureaucrats. So there is, this is what I wanted to say, that in fact the problem is not only whether we are in democratic state or in authoritarian state, but the role of the bureaucrat, the role of a small sergeant in the entrance of Ain al-Hilwi camp. What is the power of these people? So more and more they play a major role. Now, use good agency of some groups, movement of return. It was some demonstration against the popular committee in Nahr al-Barid few months ago, and things like that. In fact, a survey done by Palestinian Organization of Human Rights showing during 5 months in 2011, the time they put what I would say, they have recensé, what is in English? They calculate all the violation happen in the camps. You will see what is very interesting, that attack on individual is just a few number, 9/79. But what is very important is arbitrary arrest, torture and humiliation, hindering mobility. This is the state violence creating this informality, and of course the other type, what is in black is more the legal discrimination against the Palestinian become a source of violation. So I think if we take the statistics from international information, that in Lebanon you have 700 homicide in 2009, it means that the camps is not really a violent space. So I think it's extremely important how all the image circulated about the camps as a violent space is to reinforce the idea that we cannot deal with the population, and they force them into informality. I think, I don't know if I have time to just to develop one case of Rima and Shatila to show that this woman came in early morning in 2010. She was considered like a prostitute. So the bodyguard, yes, the bodyguard killed her, and in 24 hours it was everything done, complicity between the military intelligence, Lebanese military, and the popular committees to close this story. So I found that really is very interesting how in some cases this what Agamben called homo sacer, person can be eliminated without any punishment. I will go quickly to finish. To say I don't have time to develop my specific work on Ain al-Hilwi, where it's amazing how reifying the camps and that the jihadists there, while ignoring the whole transformation of city in Lebanon, Saida and Tripoli, the role of the conservative Sunni Salafis, competition with Shia, and so on. So it's my conclusion, and I will stop here, not to abuse the time, to say that in fact, state again is a way of pushing undesirable people into area and stigmatize them sufficiently to say we don't care about them, and then we sociologists, anthropologists, we come to say they have agency, these people, to survive. Yes, that's true, but I insist how important to show all this institutional, structural problem that we end up leaving urban planning to antagonistic, egoistic individualists. Sometimes we call them community. I am not here talking about the Palestinian refugee camps, but I'm talking, generally speaking, when we create an idealized image of what is a community, is actually a fragmented interest of different groups, and we leave them to do the urban planning. Thank you.